All right, we're on air. Happy Thursday, July 6th, everybody. New month since we last met. Very exciting. Going through our, this is a Backdrop weekly meeting, usually development related tasks. First item on the agenda, updates from the PMC. The PMC is currently working with the Software Freedom Conservancy about getting fiscal and legal sponsorship from them. They've created an issue in our GitHub issue queue. It's issue number 2753, where they're asking the larger community for feedback about starting the legal agreement to make sure that there are no serious objections. So if anyone wants to read up on what that looks like, there's a great post there with a link to a PDF that contains a sample copy of the agreement if you want to see all of those details. And currently, they've stated that if they don't receive any objections by Friday, the 14th of July, they'll execute the agreement on that date. I think if there are objections, we also have the opportunity to work through what those are with them, and we can adapt that contract slightly if needed. So this is not kind of a one-shot deal. We have the opportunity to get exactly what we want out of it. So I would encourage anyone who's curious about what that relationship looks like to read that over, and we can work out what is best for the whole Backdrop community. Other things that are going on, we have over the last week, we've got some existing Drupal module maintainers that have come to Backdrop and found that their modules have already been ported. And so we're currently working on adapting our maintainer agreement to account for people who are volunteering, like applying to join the Contrib group specifically to co-maintain projects with existing Backdrop maintainers. We don't have that use case outlined in our current agreement, and we want to make sure that it works for them as well. So it looks like where that currently stands is right now we have a section for people who are submitting applications with code and a section for people we deem non-coders. And my current recommendation was to take the non-coder section and just rework it so that it's people who are applying without code. And that way it can be for coders who are applying without code, and the same process would apply. So they need to have an application, a statement of why they want to apply, and then two people who are already Contrib group members need to vouch for that. So if I'll be like, yes, I really want this. We know we don't just have one person getting all of their friends involved, or however that works. So that's where that currently stands. We just have to rework our agreement so that it's a little more inclusive for everyone. And welcome in particular to Almado, who is interested in co-maintaining SMS framework with Doc Beaumont and brought that issue to our attention. All right, Jeff, do you want to talk about, so on to backdropcms.org, the website. Jeff's been doing some work on that over the last week. You want to let us in on issue 243?
Yeah, it's working pretty well. But when it goes out and fetches the comments from GitHub, it's incrementing by 27. So I don't know if there's some kind of a date stamp issue. So I think what I really need is more developer eyes to take a look at that PR and see if they can spot something. So I've been struggling with it for a few days and not been able to see any reason why that would happen other than perhaps the timestamp, maybe a difference between the timestamp it gets from the server compared to what GitHub is timestamping things at. But I haven't been able to prove that either. But I'd love to get that in so I could move on to working on other things.
Okay. And the pull request is, can you just link that from the issue?
Yeah.
That'd be great. It's impossible to find pull requests on GitHub. Okay, and that was specifically to get better usage statistics onto backdropcms.org from GitHub.
Yeah, let's get in the commits and comments
Okay.
on a weekly basis. The issue is to get the users to, but I think for now we should hard code the users until I can figure out some reasonable way to get that. So I think we should just make a human guess at that and put an initial seed there.
And this is for Backdrop Core or for all Kindred projects too?
This is for backdropcms.org.
Where
does
the
it count
users
comments?
are.
It counts the commits from Backdrop Core and it counts the comments from Backdrop Core or Backdrop/Backdrop issues and from all the contrib projects that are sub under Backdrop-contrib.
Okay. Great. All right. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. We also, like, I'm not sure. Yeah, we can figure out where to get that user count from later. But we should have, like, if it is kind of a guess number and we are going to launch the redesign with that number, we should make sure to update it regularly. So maybe just create a task like every Thursday to make sure we're not missing something, you know, it doesn't go on for forever without getting updated.
Yep. Fair enough.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for working on that.
No problem.
Nate, do you want to talk about Backdrop CMS itself?
Yeah. Okay. So over in the world of development, things are rolling along. The last version of Backdrop that came out, Backdrop 1.7.1, came out a couple weeks ago now. So we're working on 1.7.2 as the next bug fix release. There are a number of issues that are tagged as kind of being, well, they're tagged as being 1.7.2 issues, meaning they're either easier or slightly more important or just something that we should get done in the near future. And you can find those under the GitHub issue tracker tagged 1.7.2. In that list right now, there's a couple of RTBC issues, which is great to see, and several that need review. Yeah, we'll probably get in a couple of those items right away. As for the release date of 1.7.2, no super high priority items, so we'll just continue rolling along until we need to make a release for the next bug fixes. So 1.8 is our next minor release, and the release date of 1.8 will be September 15th, 2017. And we've got a number of items that we have called out as being higher priority that we're attempting to make some headway on. That includes layout relationships, which is issue 2134. There hasn't been any notable progress on this since last week, so I won't recap it unnecessarily. Still needs work. The media library, we're hoping to add a lot more file handling and image handling capabilities in Backdrop 1.8. And the main meta issue for that is 1448. Al Rozakov and Daggerheart have kind of been tag teaming those issues back and forth, although we haven't seen any activity in a couple of weeks there. But there's a lot of work to be done, and it's been split up quite nicely so that those things can be done in parallel. Plus, the definition of what we're attempting to do is also laid out really well. Thanks to those guys for making those issues and kind of spelling out the battle plan really pretty clearly there. I know that they've also done some work, although I don't think I've seen pull requests on all of those individual issues as of yet. Okay, and lastly, in the large feature categories, config translation, issue 704. We laid out kind of a basic premise of how we can tackle config translation in a backwards compatible manner. Generally, it looks like, you know, we've had a little bit of feedback on there. Generally, people have at least not raised any red flags about its, you know, they're not saying that that there's any problem with it. So I think as far as the basic idea, like we're kind of ready to put some code behind it. So we'll probably, I'm hoping I'll be able to tackle some of that work. And so we'll probably hopefully see some code to back up that battle plan in the near future. Anything else? Anything else from you guys that you'd like to call out in the 1.8? Let's see, there's also the GitHub issue tracker for 1.8 milestone, which I haven't taken a look at recently. I don't think, yeah, it looks like I don't think that there's any items in here that really need to be called out. Most of these are sub-items under the issues that we've already covered. Yeah. And that's it. So Backdrop 2.x, something much further, maybe not much further in the future, but we have that in the agenda here as being an item, and we talk about this regularly. We still haven't quite decided what 2.x is going to look like. There's some suggestions. We could potentially add functionality like automatic updates is an item that is of interest. And we mentioned it last week that there's been some excellent work in a project called Curator, the link to which is in the agenda. And Curator would make it so that we could do automatic core updates, which could be kind of cool. Or other functionality like import, export functionality from other systems, including WordPress. Or potentially, maybe it's not about features at all, that we're only like removing deprecated functionality. And 2.x is really basically the same as the 1.8 or 1.9, whatever the previous version is. So there's some things, some decisions that we need to make around how we're going to deal with 2.x, and even the timeline is a little ambiguous. Like, it would be January 15th if 1.9 rolls over into 2.0, but there's nothing preventing us from making it 1.10 or something like that. So we have some discussions to have around what our future looks like post Backdrop 1.9. That's it. That's it for the status update on Backdrop software. Do you guys have any questions, any discussion, anything you guys would like to talk about during this meeting? Negative. Okay. Jen, anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Well, that's it then. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the issue queue and catch you next week.